What's up, sir?
How you guys doing?
Doing good. Doing good.
Good.
We'll be on in we got about 3 minutes left, and then I'll get everything kicked off. But we are live right now, by the way, on Facebook and Twitter.
Okay.
There's Orr.
Carl, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good.
Hey, Orr.
I'm good.
Hey, Orr.
Hey,
How you doing?
Or Franchette.
I'm good. Who's that?
Jalal Leach. It's been a minute.
Oh my God! When I heard you coming on, I said I can't miss this, man. This man's got it all. He knows everything.
Hardly.
How you been, man?
Good. No complaints. I'm trying to think last time I saw you.
You know, when I saw you, I was thinking about that today. Okay, let's go. Pacific Coast League. Were you with the Giants
In Fresno.
in Fresno, and I was in Edmonton with Oakland.
2000? Wait, was it 2000? 99?
Yeah, 2000 in there somewhere.
Yeah. Wow.
It was before I went to Boston. I went to Boston in 2002, so it would be 2001, 2002 in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How you been? You good?
Good. Going crazy. We're not playing, but you know. It is what it is.
2 minutes
You're
left.
scouting, though. You're scouting, aren't you?
Yeah, for Miami. I do the Pacific Rim.
Wow, that's it. You put on get some miles.
Oh, constantly. I think last year, would I go 3 or 4 times? I think I went 3 or 4 times over there.
They let you keep your miles, huh?
Well, yes and no. Sometimes they bought the tickets with points, so then there were no points to get. So it just depends. But I like to keep the miles if possible.
Well, good.
What are you doing these days?
Zero, really. I'm just doing some lessons, and I had did the college thing after the Dodgers. My last year was my last year with the Dodgers, hitting coach in AA.
Mm-hmm.
And I had Mr. Yasiel Puig and Jock Peterson on the same team. That was a trip. And then I got out, and I had a chance to get back in. It's like I had to have a sponsor. Nowadays, if I don't have anybody that I know and that I can trust, I'm not real crazy about getting back in.
I understand.
I just, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And so I just been kind of I'm doing some lessons and consulting and doing some talking and
30 seconds.
a little bit of everything. So I'm enjoying it.
30 seconds. Well, actually, 10.
Rod, you're all decked out again today. Huh?
Hey, as usual, baby. You know how I do.
Damn, boy. Every day you're all decked out.
Going live now. Three, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, you are now tuned in to the baddest baseball podcast in the land. I am your host, Rod White. We got a pretty exciting show for you guys tonight. But as usual, I'm going to let my music play just a couple of seconds here. Get me all a little pumped up. Yeah. We got a real treat for you tonight. We're pulling off some big things around here. Pulling some big names in. All right, now that I see everybody starting to come on, we're good to go. So, I don't know what happened there, but hey, it happens sometimes. Studio glitches. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Rod White. I'll go ahead and introduce our panel for this evening, by the way. We'll go ahead and get these guys started. As normal, you can now see us, I believe. I may have to fix this just a little bit of technical difficulties, but hey, it happens. Let's bring that down just a little bit more here. That way everybody can see who's in the daggum deal. We were working on some stuff with our new producer earlier today, and maybe I just forgot to reshift this stuff around so you guys can actually see us all. But hey, it happens, guys. It happens. There we are. Now we can be seen. So as normal, to give you just a good bit of background about the podcast, we are the We Play Baseball Podcast. It is our intention to provide you as parents, players, friends, coaches, with as much information as we possibly can deliver from some of the greatest minds, greatest talent, greatest coaches, greatest scouts in the game of baseball. And so that's kind of what we do. So typically, normally what we'll do here is we'll go ahead and allow our cast, our panel, our co-hosts to introduce themselves, which would be Carl Nichols and or friend Chuck.
How you doing? Carl Nichols. Played 18 years professionally, a couple of years in the big leagues with the Baltimore Orioles and the Houston Astros. Been coaching in various capacities for the past 20 years or so, including a stint with USA Baseball, Urban Youth Academy in Compton, and various travel teams, individual lessons, little consulting, all that kind of stuff. So that's my story.
All right, Orv.
Yeah, or Frank Chuck, 28 years in pro ball, and in a lot of capacities with the Angels, Oakland, hitting coordinator there, did almost everything there. Red Sox, Astros, Padres, and Dodgers, and all those experiences were something that I'll treasure and try to keep getting better, and so that's kind of why I'm here. I'm still trying to learn.
Still trying to learn. I hear you, Orv. Now I'm trying to learn from you, man. What you talking about? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rod White. I am the associate head coach at Texas College. I also have served as an assistant coach at Alabama State University, the Alabama State University, I should say. I also have served in the Red Sox as well as the Phillies organizations as an associate guy. Now I also head up the National Scouting Bureau, which is what you see at the top of the screen. You normally would see at the top of the screen. I think you can see it, by the way. The National Scouting Bureau, and that's basically an organization built of all of us guys that you see on the screen. Basically have come together to, I guess the best way you can say it, how I look at it, is change the modality of amateur baseball. I don't believe, guys should be paying, $2,000, $3,000 to go to a showcase. So we created a way, and I'll talk about that later at the end of the show. That's kind of what I normally close out with, introducing and roll out the NSB pipeline platform. So that's my background. Tonight, guys, I think we got a special treat for you, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and introduce, I guess you already see him on the panel. He came in early. I like his promptness, by the way. He came in early. He's been on here with us. We've been talking behind the scenes. Some of you guys may have already heard us talking, which is fine. That gets edited out later, by the way. But you're live with us, so I like that. So you guys get to see that we are real. We are baseball guys, but we're real people. You get to hear real issues. You get to see the things that we deal with. That's what this show is about. So our guest tonight is an ex-major leaguer. Ex-major league player with professional playing experience through the U.S., Latin America, and Australia. A left-handed throwing hitter. He began his career by being taken in the 7th round of the 1990 draft with the New York Yankees out of Pepperdine University. He progressed through the system, posting solid numbers wherever he played. He did a lot of things well. A typical season was 1993 Double-A, where he hit 282 with 14 home runs, 79 RBIs, and 15 stolen bases. For whatever reason, the Yankees never gave him the opportunity. Let me clarify that. They never gave him a chance at the major league level, and he was scooped up in the minor league draft by the Montreal Expos in 1995. He continued his solid play for them, but bounced around in the Seattle Mariners and multiple stints with Philadelphia Phillies and the San Francisco Giants. In 15 minor league seasons, he posted, I'm skipping something here. There we go. In 15 minor league seasons, he posted excellent numbers at 287 batting average with 132 home runs, 741 RBIs, 185 stolen bases, and 1,517 hits. He's gone on to continue working in the game, running his own baseball school, and is currently the Pacific Rim coordinator, special assignment scout for the Miami Marlins. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the We Play Baseball Podcast. Jalen Leach. How are you, sir? Jaleel Leach.
Rod, thanks for having me, man. You covered it all.
I try to do my research and make sure we get all this stuff right, man. You know, I don't want people coming on and people not knowing. Look, I go out and here's what I do. This is what I do. I try to get the best minds out there right now, right? To come on. Best minds in the past. We brought guys on like Coach Ron Polk, Hall of Fame, SEC Hall of Fame guy. We had him on. Matter of fact, he kicked the show off for us. So we're trying to. My objective is to bring guys that are in the game, currently knowing what's going on in the game. So I reached out to you because I respect you just like that. We've been friends on Facebook and Twitter, and then we connected again on Instagram. So I said, let me reach out to my man. I've been following him, so let me get him on the show. So we welcome you to the We Play Baseball Podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. I mean, I know we're in trying times, and we all wish we were out at the field and games. I know I'm struggling because there's no games to scout, so it's shelter in place where I am here in California. So it's pretty tough, but I guess as long as we stay healthy and we can get through this, eventually we'll get back out on the field.
Eventually we'll get back out there. So you told us how you're holding up. So here's you have the floor. I want you, if you will, tell people who you are. I know I just gave you a background, but I like to give a man the opportunity to say who he is. I may have missed some things that you may think are pertinent to people understanding who you are and what you bring to the table. So I actually, and so that you know, if you have it up on your background or your phone, I actually have, they get to see this pictures of you, and it has you with Mariano. I got that picture on here, so they get to see that you standing with him, and then it has you. But as you're telling each other, just tell everybody who you are from your perspective.
Well, I mean, I'm born and raised in San Francisco, California. Grew up in a town about 30 miles north of the Golden Gate Bridge. The town's called Novato. Yeah. Just like all the kids, I played Little League, middle school, high school, but I played all the sports. I mean, that's the difference from the old school to the new school is we played whatever was in season. Right. So I think all the sports really helped me as I moved along with my baseball career. But after high school, I got a scholarship to Pepperdine University in Southern California, and I knew in high school I had tools, but, we didn't have anyone in our family that had really played pro sports. I didn't know much about it. Pro scouts were asking me and my dad, was he interested? And my dad, I'm the oldest, so my dad was always saying, he's going to college. Right. So we never really looked into professional baseball from the high school standpoint. So once I got going at Pepperdine, I think it was my sophomore year, Coach Andy Lopez, he came to me and he goes, man, these guys are really talking and asking a lot about you as far as the draft. And I didn't know much about it, so he had to explain to me how the draft worked and all the rounds and the teams. And so, going into my junior year, I had big expectations and, in the preseason All-American, and I played on Team USA, and I pressed. At the beginning of the season, I had so much pressure on myself. It was ridiculous. And it got to a point where it was so bad, my roommate, my best friend, Chris Martin, who was our shortstop, who was also going to go high in the draft, one day before the game, we're in the cage, and there must have been, I'm going to say, 20 to 30 scouts.
Yeah.
I wish Marty was on this call so he could hear this story. And we were in the cage, soft tossing or hitting off the tee or something, and he didn't pick up the balls. So I jumped him. I said, hey, get over here, and you hit these balls, get over here and pick them up like the rest of us. He's like, I don't have to. I go, yes, you do. So then by then I charged him. And we're in the cage tussling, and here come all the scouts running down to the cage. Like, what's going on? So the players pull us apart. Then Coach Lopez comes running out, and what are you guys doing? Get in my office. And it was just the pressure of all those scouts watching us day in and day out. And I'm like, man, and then I know Coach is probably like, they got to get in the car and go home.
Right.
And hit down trying to kill each other. And we were just the intensity was just high. And we laughed about it and we got over it. But, that's real. When there's scouts coming out to watch you, it's real. Went through the draft process, got picked by the Yankees. And then, I got into the system and, like a lot of guys, I said, if I'm not in the big leagues in 4 years, I'm going to go back to school, finish up my degree, and get on with my life.
Right.
Well, those 4 years went by so fast, and I was in AAA, and the season ended, and I was on the roster. My dad said, well, you're not in the big leagues. You going to hang them up? And I was thinking, real job or keep chasing this?
Yeah.
And I said, I'll keep going.
Yeah.
So I just continued on, and bounced around to all those teams. And into my 12th year with San Francisco, I finally got a call up. And it was, it was unbelievable, after spending that much time in the minor leagues before getting to the big leagues.
Right.
And, when I got to the big leagues, guys like Sean Dunston, Eric Davis, even B. Bonds a little bit, Barry, they all gave me props. It was like, this guy persevered his butt off down in the minor leagues before he got up there. And that was my only stint that one time in 2001. And then I bounced around a few more times, played in Mexico, winter ball, all that. And then, it was over. So, as long as it was, the 15 years of playing, it really blew by in the grand scheme of life.
Right.
So that, in a nutshell, was my playing career.
Yeah, and you just mentioned something right there. You talked about, the longevity that you spent in minor league, but you persevered. You kept pushing to get to it. And you finally got there. For whatever reason, you didn't get a chance to stay. We don't need to get into semantics about things, but talk about the perseverance behind that. Pushing forth, continuing on to get something instead of just giving up.
Well, for me, it's self-belief. When you're in the minor leagues, if you don't believe in yourself, you're going to get swallowed quickly. Yeah. They draft every year. They're drafting. I always just tell myself, hey, they're picking somebody else who's coming next year. So, you have to believe in yourself, and when they slam the door in your face, you got to pull up your big boy pants and say, I can press on, or you get out. And I feel like more guys, at least in my era, and, maybe Orv and Carl have something different, I feel like more guys gave up than actually got released. Because we didn't make any money. I know they're making a big deal of it today, but, hey, we made $800 a month, and after taxes, it was $300-something, every 2 weeks. And I remember my dad saying, you can make more than that at McDonald's. I was like, this is true. But we room with a bunch of dudes, and we ate a lot of Domino's pizza because that's all we could afford. Because we knew the nugget was if we get to the show. So for me, it's just you just have to have the will. And I know you want me to talk about the tools later. All those things are great, fine, and dandy. But there's something to be said for makeup in our business because it's a game of failure.
Right.
No doubt.
We're definitely gonna get into that because those are, especially when we get to talking about the intangibles. Those are, and makeup is really the intangibles of the matter. So we're going to delve into that. So let's talk about this for a minute. Your role as the Pacific Rim coordinator, special assignment. Explain that to the audience so they understand what it is that you do and why what you're saying tonight has relevance. Even with your background and things of that, people like to hear, okay, all right, who is he? What does he do now? Past what he's done. What tell them about your role and being on this show, what you're giving them from that standpoint.
Okay, well, basically what my job is the Pacific Rim coordinator. When you see players, Otani with the Angels.
Okay.
When you see players coming from the Asian countries, Japan, Korea, sometimes Taiwan, each team has guys that do what I do. They go over a couple times a year, and we have target players in the Japanese, the Korean Professional League, and the Taiwanese League that we're looking at that made posts to come to the U.S.
Right.
So we go over there and we evaluate them. And for me, pitching is one thing because you have the radar gun and you can see the sharpness of a breaking ball or velocity or something like that. Hitting is a whole nother ball game.
Right.
Number one, hitting at any level from high school or college into pro ball, just because you hit in high school doesn't mean you're going to hit in pro ball.
Right.
And we don't even know if you're going to hit in the big leagues. So when I go over there to the Asian countries to evaluate the hitters, in Korea, I would say the average fastball there might be like 87 miles an hour, which we got guys who throw changeups that hard.
Right.
So the first thing I say is this dude going to be able to shorten up to hit 95? Because we got some arms. So so I have to keep telling myself, this guy, how would he look if I put him in the Marlins uniform?
Right.
So the hitting's very difficult to evaluate. But I'm just over there observing, taking notes. I don't speak any of the languages, but if I meet like a radio guy or one of their scouts, I try to befriend them and get information on them makeup wise. Because if this guy posts and I have a report written in to my bosses about him, they're gonna ask. They're gonna say, "Hey, Jalal, this guy Otani is posting. What you got?" And I mean, and not many guys go over from each team. It could be one, maybe two guys, and then the rest of the stuff they see is via video.
Right.
So it's like, okay, here's my moment to sell. And I saw Otani a lot, and I said he's a freak. I said I didn't think it could happen, but I said I think this guy can hit and he can pitch. I don't know how. I was with San Francisco at the time, and I was like, I know we're nationally club. I don't know how to use him, but that's not my job. That's player development.
Right.
I'm just telling you what I think he is. And basically that's what I do. I write these reports, and when the players decide they're going to post or they become international free agents, that's when they come back to me and say, well, what do you have? And I got to sell my story one way or the other, and we kind of go from there. So that's, and I make 2 or 3 trips.
Wow.
And
okay.
You might see something or you might not see anything at all.
Right. So let's take it kind of change it just for a minute here. A few minutes ago we mentioned the 5 tools, and then we talked about makeup. So let's kind of get into that. And again, we got guys that'll be listening and tuning in that are high schoolers. You got kids that are travel ball guys. You got kids that are college guys. You got parents that are listening. Talk about, from your standpoint, the 5 tools, and then let's talk about, let's get into the makeup side of things pretty heavily so they get an understanding of what it is that you mean when you say that.
Okay, well, the 5 tools are hit, power, field, run, and throw.
Right.
For a position player. So for me, I'm a pro scout. I don't do the draft, but I have dabbled into the draft or the international amateurs. If I go to watch a kid at those levels, those are the tools that I'm having a checklist that I'm running through in my mind when I'm watching it. Do I think this kid, does he have a good swing? Or is it, and then as far as the swing, it's the swing path. Is it an uppercut? Is it a flat path? We've got all these different hitting styles going on today, with the launch angle, so on and so forth. That's a whole nother discussion.
Right.
We try to figure out, does this kid have a feel for the bat, or we say feel for the wood? And then I just kind of go through that, okay, and then I go, well, is there power? Well, if you get to watch him take batting practice, you can see if there's raw power. I mean, if the guy can hit it to the friggin' over the light tower, well, hey, there's power in there.
Right.
We just got to get it in the game.
Right.
If he can hit it to the moon and BP, so you can look at power in that regards, or he may show it to you in the game, which helps even more. And then from there, you go into fielding. For me, I look at the body type, the athleticism, and I really just use my eyes. And a lot of it, I compare him to guys I played with or against.
Right.
Oh, he remind me of such and such. I remember so-and-so used to move like that.
Right.
And then I just try to figure out, if their body's going to keep them at that position that they may be at, or maybe they have to move off,
Right.
Especially because, a lot of time everyone tell me, oh, I got a shortstop. And then you see them and you go, well, to play shortstop in the major leagues, you need to run a certain foot speed for me because you got to cover ground.
Right.
Your instincts, your athleticism, and your body. I mean, there are outliers. I mean, there's Corey Seagers and Brandon Crawfords, are a little bit thicker dudes. But most of these dudes, Swanson and Gregorius, they're built a certain way.
Right.
And they move Lindor, they move a certain way.
Right.
And I go, that's the shortstop. And then I look at their footwork, their hands. A middle infielder, are they able to throw with from multiple slots? And multiple slots is, if you're able to get over the top, drop to 3/4, sidearm, underhand, so on and so forth, because you don't know where the ball is going to take you. And if you can't flip it from the side or shovel it, probably tough to keep you in the middle of the infield. So as far as the fielding, the guys, I mean, we typically want guys that are up the middle of the field, but if you can't stay in the middle, we force you to the corners, and there's more emphasis on hitting when you go to the sides.
Right.
So that's why you see, I was a shortstop in high school, then he ends up playing third in pro ball because, his athleticism or foot speed maybe doesn't keep him there.
Right.
So that's kind of how guys get moved off. I mean, I was a center fielder, and I played mostly right and left as I got further down line. And then the run tool is the stopwatch, and it's hard with kids because with kids, if they haven't matured or if they have, you might be getting the end of the line or the beginning of the line.
True.
So you don't know, dang, he's fast now. And then 3 years later, he looks exactly the same.
Right.
So it's hard, with that run tool, but the stopwatch doesn't lie. So if he's a plus runner, he's a plus runner. So that'll right away, that'll tell me I can keep him at short. I probably can keep him in center because the guy can move.
Right.
Okay. And then the last thing is the throwing. I mean, I think we've kind of almost eliminated throwing from our game, which I haggle with, and I think it's because kids today, they don't like to throw. It's not sexy playing catch.
That's the running theme that we've said on all the shows when we get to talking about throwing. That's the running theme. They're not throwing enough.
Right. Well, I tell people this story, and I showed this to my nephew and my son when I took him to Yankee Stadium. This is probably Jeet was about 5 years from retiring, and before every game in Yankee Stadium, Cano was with the Yankees then.
Right. Derek
and Robinson would play long toss from home plate all the way down the right field line. And I asked my son and my nephew, why do you think they have good arms? Oh, they're playing long toss every day. Why are they so good catching the ball? Because they playing catch. I said, if you don't play catch, you're not gonna be able to catch the ball. So I told him, I said, it's not rocket science. It's just go out there and friggin' play catch. I said, these are two of the best players on the planet, and look what they do before every single game right in front of the dugout. Long toss, stretch it out, playing catch. So to me, if you want to build arm strength, I know we got all these throwing weighted ball programs. You got to get out there and throw. And if you want to learn to catch the ball, you got to catch it.
Right. So
it's simple for me.
Before we get into the next question, let me give these numbers. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, you can text your number to 334. Text your question, I should say, 334-249-2290, or you can tweet us at WePlayBaseball2. That's the number 2. Text, again, your question to 334-249-2290, or tweet us at WePlayBaseball2. Carl, I think you had you kind of looked like you were itching to get in right there, so I'll let you go.
Oh yeah, well, actually, I had a question about the story you just told, or the story you told when you came on about the pressure you were feeling in high school. So I know you have a facility there and you deal with a lot of kids. How do you take that experience and teach the kids how to deal with whatever pressure they may be dealing with during their careers, their amateur careers, trying to get to the next level?
Well, my son said something to me one day, and I said, because he has aspirations to play.
Right.
But he goes, Dad, if you don't want people to watch you, if you're trying to be a major leaguer, you want people to watch you. Right. This is what we want. And I was like, that's a good way to look at it.
Right.
Because if no one's watching, then you can't play. So for me, you should welcome all that with open arms as an amateur player. If college coach, recruiters there, the area scout. Shoot, if the general manager, if Jeter shows up at your game, you doing something, though.
Right.
I mean, now is the time to shine. So I say welcome that, Carl.
Sounds like your son educated you on that, then.
Yeah, he did. And to tell a quick story off of that, I asked him, because he's gone to games with me, since he can walk, and I asked him, I said, well, what made you get over the hump of, playing in front of people or nothing like that? Because the guy, when he plays, he's like in his own world. And I was like, I got nervous. I got nervous in every sport. I worried about what my dad was thinking, this, that, and the other. And he said, Dad, you took me to a game we got the minor league team out here, the Stockton Ports, for the A's. Okay. And they did an on-field promotion where they picked some kids out of the stands to come do a tug of war. And my son's he's not a big guy, and he wasn't a big kid, so he got picked to do this tug of war against a really big. I was like, he got no shot. So they bring him down on the field, the first baseline, and this kid just destroyed it. I was up there laughing, and then I was like, man, his feelings are going to be crushed. And when he came back, because you hear the crowd emotion. And he goes, Dad, I just felt like, I knew that guy was bigger and stronger than me. But he goes, but they're just people. They were just people making their emotions. And they're going to forget it anyways. Yeah. So he said from that day forward, it never bothered him doing anything, whether it's speaking in front of his classmates or at school. So I was like, wow, okay. But he had like an actual incident that took him to where he thinks now.
Right.
Just to add to that, I think the young athletes today, the more exposure they can get to the game, the more successes and the more failures and the more reps they get, I think that helps with the confidence part. And I know just a little story. When I was with the Red Sox, I had Hanley Ramirez coming up through the system. I was a hitting coordinator, so it seemed like every time he came to town to see Hanley, from rookie ball all the way to Double-A, he was really. He seemed like he wasn't motivated to play that well. He was a little on the lazy side, although he was a toolsy guy. He had all the tools. And then all of a sudden, he got to Double-A with 15,000 people watching him, and it seemed like that little switch clicked. He liked to show off in front of people. He was one of those guys that he liked the attention. And I know that some kids are like that, but for me, the biggest thing is just getting exposure, dealing with the failures and successes, and learning how to the more reps and the more access you have as a youngster to failing and succeeding and being able to kind of learn how to do that with mom and dad. I think that really helps. That really helps
right.
With confidence anyway.
Right.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I always encourage kids to go to games. Don't just go to big league games. Because I don't know how many major leaguers have actually gone from amateur. I'm sure there have been a few go straight from amateur to the show, but most guys are going to play in the minor leagues. And I encourage, go watch. If you got a minor league A-ball club near you, go watch that level. If you have Double-A near you, go watch. Or if your goal may be to play in college, hey, I want to play at University of Texas. Well, let's go watch a game. Let's see what's going on there, so you can kind of gauge or measure, where you need to be or where you need to get as far as playing there. Because if not, you're just stabbing in the dark. I mean, you can hit a million balls off of the tee, but as we know, as hitting guys, you can hit a million balls the wrong way.
Absolutely.
And then when it's time to play, I can't hit. It's like, but I took 1,000 reps. It's that old quality over quantity. Stuff like that. So I just really encourage people to get out, watch the game, and it's a game. Have fun with it. I mean, it's not life or death. Not at all.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the show tonight with us is Jaleel Leach, who is the Pacific Rim coordinator and special assignment scout for the Miami Marlins. I reached out to him and I said, hey, man, we need to get you on. Just talk about it from your end, being an international, doing international work and what baseball looks like to you from that angle. So, when you travel overseas, I know we talked about this before. When you're overseas and you're watching players, tell us about that day. What happens when you get to that park, or matter of fact, when you when you leave the hotel? Tell us about what your day is like on the road. When I say on the road, you're actually overseas. Tell us about that day, those days when you're there.
Okay, well, a day in the life, I'm a little odd. So I live in California, Sacramento. So for me to get to, let's say, Tokyo, Japan, it's probably about a 14-hour flight. Right. So I go from here up to Seattle, or I can go through Los Angeles, right. And then it's about 12 hours from Seattle over to Tokyo. And basically, when I land, it's, I'll leave my house about 6 o'clock in the morning one day, and I'll arrive in Tokyo the next day. I think it's about 3 in the afternoon.
Okay.
I mean, my biological clock is all jacked up.
Right.
But what I've done is, some guys like to get in and take a day off and then go to games the next day. I want to get to the ballpark because I'm trying to get on schedule as quick as possible. So when I worked for San Francisco, we had a scout on the ground there. He would come get me at the hotel. I'd take a shower, put my clothes on, and we go straight to a game. Yeah. And during the game, I'm falling asleep because in my mind it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And he's like, hey, you got to drink this Japanese coffee. He's giving me all these stimulants. Stay away. And, he's like, hit me. Hey, I see your head nod. Because I'm trying to get on schedule as quick as possible.
Right.
So, and we know beforehand which players. Now, I don't want you to think I'm sleeping on the job, but we know who we're looking at.
Right.
So when they come in the game, I'm sitting up on my seat, making sure I'm paying attention. But that's my trick when I go there is get to the ballpark, get acclimated, and then when the game's over, go to sleep, and then hopefully my clock is somewhat right, because when I'm there, it's going to be game. If I'm there 2 weeks, I'm hitting 14 games in 14 days, and they're all over the country. Right. It's not a big country, and it's easy to travel there, but I don't want days off. I said, I'm that old school sleep when I'm dead. If I wanted a day off, I want it at home. I don't want it in Tokyo, Japan.
Right.
So I try to get to as many games as possible. And, sometimes my look on the hitters, I'll get multiple days. The starting pitcher, you'll get them for 5 or 6 innings or whatever. It's the relievers. They play the game by the book. In Japan, the closer only pitches in a closing situation. Gotcha. In America, you know how we do, hey, he needs to get some work. He hasn't thrown in 4 or 5 days. We need to throw our closer out there. Right. They don't do that. So sometimes you're sitting, if you're there to watch a closer, sometimes you're sitting up there praying, please let the game stay close. Let them hit by one.
Right.
Because if you don't get him, it's like, okay, now we got to follow him to the next. If he's high on your list, we got to keep following him until we get that tight game. And then when he comes in, you're like, hallelujah. He's finally in there. And that's one thing that is really different than our ball is the relievers in their roles pitch only in those roles, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, it's tough, but, I make do, and I start gathering my information, start writing my reports, and then I punch them in, and, if I don't get a chance to go back, I kind of go back, try to follow the stats and whatnot. And then when we have our postseason meetings, that's when guys will come up, and I got to be ready to speak on them.
Right. So let me ask this question. You know, we here in the States, we're trying to move back to pushing guys to be multi-sport athletes, right? You know, because we feel it benefits you. Tell us, what's the culture? I mean, I'm pretty sure you run across this when you're in Tokyo. Tell us the culture of how they treat baseball and other sports. I mean, there's other sports that they play, but how do they balance that?
Over there in Japan.
Oh, in Japan, right?
Oh, they're baseball centric. I mean,
that's what I thought, right?
Yeah, they are heavy baseball, and it's in baseball. There is truly a family outing. Everyone goes. Mom, dad, brother, sister. They all attend and participate. Every game sold out. I mean, all the teams, first place, last place, they love it. Yeah. And it's really fun watching the game there because they cheer and chant and sing for the players. So the games, it's not like going to a tennis match. They get into it. So
have you been there during Koshien?
How about
during Koshien? Their high school tournament.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I know some people that are familiar with that, and basically they say it's equivalent to the NCAA tournament here. Mm-hmm. Everything shuts down for 2 weeks. The games are televised on TV. Everything. And they do
I know the high school baseball is.
Yes, it's called Koshien. Yep.
Yeah.
They do it twice a year.
Yeah, they're on a whole nother level, and their academies, and I mean, they start them from when they're young, and they just drill them all the way up, from middle school, then high school, whether they go to college or if they sign professionally. Baseball there is huge, big business, and they're really into it.
Gotcha. So with the academies, parents are paying for kids to go. How does that structure work?
I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Okay.
How they do their academies there? If it's the parents are paying for, it individually, or if they're just doing it like school oriented. It may have some type of affiliation with your actual, your elementary school or your middle school or your high school. Right. But their system is it's.
Yeah, it's kind of a school kind of deal, and because I took some kids to China,
yeah,
and in China, they test their kids at like 5 years old, and so you're either going to be an engineer at 5, or you're going to be a construction worker at 5, or you're going to be a baseball player, and that's how they do it. So in China, they have different sports academies that are paid for by the government, and so basically they recruit the athletes, the soccer schools, baseball schools. Whatever volleyball schools. So they recruit the kids. The kids come and live at the academy in China, and they train. They go to school and they train there for their sport.
Right.
And then I guess the family, and they go home like one day a week on the weekend or something. So it's similar to that in Japan too. They go to school for that specific sport.
Right. Well, I'm sure. I mean, a guy like Otani. I mean, he's like a freak athlete. So.
Right.
I mean, they must have identified him early.
Yeah. Because when I went to China, I saw a bunch of Otanis walking around, but they were playing volleyball because they battled for the athletes over there, and during the time that I was there, China baseball was just starting to pick up. Mm-hmm. So all the top athletes were still playing volleyball and basketball and soccer, but it's slowly starting to change over in China. So they got some athletes over there too as well.
Right. That's probably the next big country for our sport, anyways, to hit on players.
Yeah. We got a question.
Matter of fact, Major League Baseball has an academy there. I don't know if you guys knew that or not.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
In China.
Yeah. We do got a question coming in. How do you evaluate a player as a utility player like a Yuri Gurriel and Marwin Gonzalez? That's the question from the audience.
Okay, so as an amateur player, so like a high school or college kid, right?
Yes, I guess that would be the equivalency of this. Yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, I mean, first of all, I don't know if we, because I don't deal with the draft, but if I see a kid in, let's say, in rookie ball, I don't know if I would say he's going to become a utility player. If he has any value or prospect value, I would think he would probably first start off as some type of prospect, and then he would play himself into those roles.
Right.
You know, and for me, you know, if I go watch, you know, a high school game and I see a kid maybe pitch one game, play shortstop another game, maybe catches, maybe play the outfield. Well, right away that shows me he's a good athlete.
Right.
So what I would think would be, okay, if I had to just put him in one spot, where do you think he would best fit? So, you know, I wouldn't. I guess I'm saying is for a position player, I wouldn't limit yourself to one position, because if you can play multiple, that shows me you're an athlete of some sort.
And to add on to that, because I scouted a little bit too, for the most part, scouts don't write in their reports he's going to be a utility guy.
Right.
You know, they write whatever position he's playing. And use myself as an example. I played shortstop in high school, but everybody knew I was going to be a catcher. You know, so that's what I ended up being. But there's a lot of guys who, because they're athletes and they get into pro ball, and circumstances kind of forces them to being utility guys. You know, I played against Jose Oquendo. We signed the same year. Played against him in rookie ball. He was an everyday shortstop.
Right.
But, you know, he gets up to the big leagues because he originally signed with the Mets and ends up with the Cardinals. So if you go over to the Cardinals, at that time, you're not playing shortstop every day. Because Ozzie Smith was at shortstop. Right? So you play some second base. And then also, when you're not getting the playing time that you probably want, you make yourself into a utility player. Coach, I can play left field.
Yeah, right.
I can play first base. He's hurt. Yeah, I give him a day off. I'll go play first base. So that's how that ends up developing. Guys just want to play, and a lot of the time they just end up volunteering to play positions, or the coach asks them to go play. And next thing you know, they become more valuable as a utility player,
right,
versus that everyday guy at that one position. So it kind of evolves into that. It doesn't necessarily. You don't necessarily draft a guy for the purpose of him being a utility player. But if you can play multiple positions, you have more value to any team, whether it's pros or college.
I agree.
And that's, of course, Rob, we talked about this before. At the amateur level, stop just making your son want to be a shortstop. Learn to play every position.
Right.
Okay, and the perfect example is the guy that you played with, or you saw, Robinson Cano.
Right.
He came up as a shortstop. Now, what if he says, if I don't play shortstop, then trade me, or I don't play? Well, guess what? We don't ever hear Robinson Cano because they would have kept him down to AAA.
Right.
But instead, he said, well, Jeter's at short. You want to play second? Yeah, I'll play second. Okay, so, but that wasn't the first time he probably played second base, though, at the big league level.
Right.
So that's.
Hey, Jalal, the projectability come into the scouting world as much anymore as it used to, or is it strictly on numbers and evaluations and that? I mean, back in the day, I'm sure you were involved, and like we all were, you could kind of look at somebody and have a pretty good feel on projecting somebody. Is that come into play for you in the business today, or no?
No, I'm still old school, so for me, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to be able to project on these kids because, when I started out, I learned from my mistakes. I'm still making them, but as a young scout, a guy that maybe I was like, oh, this guy's going to be the next best thing in slice, and he was man muscle. We're in short season ball. I'm looking at, and he was maxed out, but I didn't know because I wasn't projecting. And then I remember seeing Carl Edwards Jr. in the Northwest League. And I was like, look at this stick you're out here pitching. Boy, you're missing too many meals. And I was like, man, he's going to break. But he had a good arm.
Yeah.
And there was projection. And what we know he is now. But it's like you have to, for me, the further away they are, the more you got to dream on them, and then you have to look at those tools. I mean, those tools, and then as he keeps, it's like an investment. Am I getting return on my investment as we're getting closer to the big leagues? Is he, is he going the right direction, or did he just? That's it. He peaked out at AA because there's not enough more projection. And I mean, or if I look at the numbers, and I know the numbers have a place in the game today, but I'll be damned when they put the gun to my head. I'm going with my old school gut and what I see.
That's good. That's good to hear. I'm happy to hear that, because I know that the game has changed so much as far as evaluations and the cybermetric stuff going on. And by the way, I was a Pepperdine guy too, so I didn't realize you were a Pepperdine guy.
Oh, well, there we go.
Yeah, there's something in common.
One of the most beautiful campuses in the country.
Yes, and or with the analytics, now everyone has them.
Right.
All 30 clubs have analytics.
Well,
so guess what?
That's funny. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Now it comes back to how good are your scouts?
Right. And I say all the time, everybody has the same analytics. Who has the advantage?
Right.
Being with the scouts.
And then I go back to, I was a catcher, because we had analytics too. It just wasn't computerized. It was just advanced scouting and the numbers and all that stuff. So we had pitcher and catcher meetings before a series, right? And this is this guy's weakness. You can get up in there with a fastball. You can throw him breaking balls. Well, what if that guy's breaking ball is not working that day? Now you got to throw the analytics out the window and figure out how to get this guy out. Funny, I'm telling a quick story, Rod. You like me telling stories. I was in Houston, right? It was hilarious to me. And I'm in the pitcher catcher meeting, and I wasn't catching it, or I didn't play that series, but we're playing the Padres, right? Of course, and Tony Gwynn killing everybody.
Yeah. So
we figure we're going to get smart. We're going to take away that left field line from Tony Gwynn. We're going to take it away from him, right? Okay, sounds like a good plan. And we go out that night and bring the left fielder in and put him over to the line, and Tony drops 3 hits right in front of him. so much for those metrics and all that stuff.
Right.
So at some point the common sense has to kick in too with all these analytics and numbers, the statistics and all that stuff. So,
right. And well, what is the thing Mike Tyson said about boxing? It's
everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Right. Garrett Cole said something like that as well. He said, we had a scouting report. And he goes, but till I throw that first pitch.
Well, and the story I told yesterday, you go up there, I'm about to get famous off Nolan Ryan until he throws you one under your chin.
Yeah.
And then your plans change.
So, slight change here. I got a question because this just popped in my head, and I just want to get everybody's take. We see the shift a lot. We're seeing the shift a lot. What is your take on the shift?
Well, I know Orv is a hitting guy, and I just saw him move around in his chair there.
My thing, I'll start it off. The game. I mean, if somebody's going to move over, or we're going to move people here, we're going to move people there, and I'm talking to people in the game that are saying, "They ought to outlaw that. You can't be doing that." I'm saying, yeah, they can. Right. They do it all the time. Yeah. So now I have to, as a hitter, as an organization or whatever, as a hitter, I need to be able to make an adjustment. Third baseman's playing way over by the second base bag.
Right.
I got that whole area over there. There's nothing wrong with me laying one down or hitting the line right in left field. So that's how the game is. You've got to be able to make adjustments according to what you're facing. And so I'm so tired of hearing that analytics, and I mean I know launch angle. I don't get me started on that. That's all I have to say on that. I'm good.
Yeah, my thing is if whenever they decide they're tired of it, they'll start making adjustments. Because the big leaguers, they can do it if they want to.
Yeah,
sure they can.
But I go back to, I remember when I got called up with the Orioles playing the Red Sox, and I made the team out of spring training. It's early in the season. I'm in the bullpen, and Jim Rice is hitting, and everybody's talking how Jim Rice is. And it's early in the season, and counts. When he steps up to the plate, he's choked up the bat. I mean, almost halfway, right? So I asked him, all right, I said, bro, what's he doing? Why is he choked up on the bat like that? And he told me, he said, well, Jim Rice knows he's going to hit 30 home runs. So early in the season, he's trying to get as many hits as he can to keep his average up. You know, he choked up on the bat, and he was just taking his however many hits he could get. He was taking field, right field, jam shot, whatever. Because he knew, you know, without question, he was going to hit 30 home runs. So he wasn't even worried about that. He was just trying to get his hits. You know, but you don't see a lot of that today. So, but again, these guys, when they're ready to do it, they'll do it. So.
I agree. I look at it in postseason baseball because then it's not about numbers. It's about we can win.
Yeah.
Now guys are running the bases right. They'll drop a bunt. They'll start playing the team game because we're playing for the chip or the ring. So their approach, you know, goes out the window. Whereas during the season, well, that's where I'm gonna make my money. Yeah. You know, supposed to be a school guy. So
if they don't just approach, they get exposed.
Right.
And so yeah, you're right. Game changes us.
Yeah.
Right.
And so do I want guys that are going to win a championship, or do I want guys that are going to put a number?
Right. Yeah, that's probably be another thing for us. Looking things that way.
Right. There's superstars that I won't name.
Right.
I think they're league guys and not team guys.
Exactly.
They left the team and team won.
And there's, I know a lot of old school scouts.
You're right. They left a team, and team won. So
We didn't
need. Yeah. And you get a lot of old school scouts who drafted guys who probably didn't fit the norm as far as the tools go and the reports, but you watch him in the game, that kid can just play.
Yeah.
He gets it done. You know, he's got a bad body or whatever. But every time he comes up, he hits the barrel of the ball. Or when he pitches, he makes his pitches.
Right.
times.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, that was Barry Bonds' favorite player, is David Eckstein, because he always used to say, this guy has no business being on this field.
Right.
Yeah.
But he got it done.
He got it done.
He's a gamer.
Dustin Pedroia, another one that comes to mind.
Yeah, true. His size and everything got it too. I mean, it's just the things he got.